どうも、獅子王玄白と申します。For this recording, I will be sharing to you all on my film impression and review on yesterday's The Batman, the 2022 Matt Reeves film. This film is not like previous Batman adaptations. It's a standalone film on Batman Year 2. So we start the film with Batman. Bruce Wayne already is Batman. And we start off with Bruce Wayne's monologue, soliloquy on the usage of fear to help stop some crime. And his edgy monologue on the bat signal and several low-level thugs freaking out is just is very, very amusing. We just start the film with 5 minutes and we already get a little taste on how edgy Robert Pattinson's Batman is. And Robert Pattinson's portrayal of Bruce Wayne and Batman is surprisingly good. Many thought it's gonna be disappointing, but it's not. It's actually very, very well performed. Even though Robert Pattinson's Batman voice isn't the best, it's just a tad bit darker than his normal speaking voice. So we couldn't really differentiate between Bruce Wayne and Batman. But it's still a great performance because it's Batman Year 2, and we have a portrayal of Bruce Wayne that is not the usual charismatic playboy from like Christian Bale's portrayal or the mature middle-age crisis Ben Affleck portrayal of Batman. I don't have any watching experience of the Michael Keaton version, so I couldn't really compare Pattinson's portrayal to Keaton's portrayal. Because it's Batman Year 2, we didn't really start the film with the familiar montage of the murder of Thomas and Martha Wayne at the back street of Gotham, after Bruce Wayne does not like the performance of bats in the opera. However, Bruce Wayne's lair, the Batcave, in this film is actually a abandoned subway terminus rather than a natural cave or a high-tech layout right under a natural reservoir. And Wayne Manor is not really present, although he does live in a skyscraper in the middle of town. So yeah, because Pattinson's performance is a rather emotionally weak and fragile version of Bruce Wayne, who's still running away from his duties as the successor of Wayne Enterprise. He's not as charismatic as you would find him as Bruce Wayne, but the edginess of his Batman, it's still in there. This film is more like a detective horror film than an actual action superhero film, where like Gotham here is portrayed way worse than Christopher Nolan's interpretation of Gotham. And it's even worse than the Joker's standalone film, Gotham. Like, you think the slums of Gotham in the film The Joker is bad enough? It's not as a hellhole as the Batman's portrayal of Gotham. And we start the same also with a murder. So it's more like a murder mystery than an action superhero, because even though Batman has redeeming features, it's not a very optimistic film when compared to Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, or the goofiness of the Batman films after Keaton. Because it's a detective mystery film, going back to the roots of DC Comics, which is literally called Detective Comics, we get to see the detective side of Batman as Batman is a detective. He doesn't have any superpowers, so he has to use gadgets and his logical thinking, as well as his physical assaults. What else? Because Batman is a detective, his opponent, the Riddler, is a person who plays mind games instead of direct action. Kind of make you think of another Batman villain from previous films. Ah, yes, Heath Ledger's The Joker. But here's the catch. The Riddler does not have any physical abilities. He prefers hiding behind the shadows, just like Batman. But the Riddler being a foil of the Batman, and not as a direct contrast to Batman like the Joker. The Riddler prefers lurking in the shadows, while the Batman and the Joker, after enough time, shows up to beat your ass. The Riddler doesn't do that. He takes you out from the shadows, in the shadows. He doesn't reveal himself. Not exactly when you're his target. He has several riddles that the Batman could figure out, but there's also several subtle hints that the Batman couldn't figure out at first glance and needed aid from his butler, Alfred Pennyworth, and the Gotham City Police Department, and Selina Kyle, the Catwoman. Here we also have a introduction to the dark side of Gotham, the manipulators behind him. behind the shithole city. First we're introduced to mobsters Carmine Falcone and the Penguin Oswald, why he's called the Penguin? Because he's slightly obese and he's scarred. The way he's scarred resembles a beak. That's why he's called the Penguin. And Falcone is actually the man behind many different suspicious events. For example, it is speculated that Falcone is behind Thomas Wayne's murder, and Falcone is also behind the corruption of Gotham City Police Department and the politics behind. So he's the rat who manipulates both the light and the dark sides of Gotham. Interesting enough, the film was originally supposed to be Ben Affleck's solo movie, but he decided to opt out because creative differences. So the Riddler in this film is not the goofy maniacal portrayal of Jim Carrey. This version of the Riddler is, according to Wikipedia and also the actor Paul Dano, it's a serial killer take on the classic character, with Paul Dano even referenced that the Riddler's way of crime resembles or is inspired from the famous Zodiac killer in terms of giving out the different sign signals of where to find the killer or where's the next step. And we also have like a cameo from Barry Keoghan. Yes, the actor who portrays Druig from the very poorly received film Eternals, as he portrays an Arkham's prisoner who many assume and it is inferred to be the Joker in this film series. And the film is way darker. It's so dark that it gave me it almost gave me nightmares yesterday night. There's one thing that I have to emphasize. It's that the film is pretty slow. So if you're impatient and you don't like drama or just verbal exchanges that isn't shit talking between two belligerent people, you might fall asleep midway and you'd miss out a lot of different important hints to the story, to the Riddler's motives, to the origin stories between the Riddler and, in a degree, Bruce Wayne. So good luck enduring that 1.5 hour of prolonged exposition that carries on into the rising action until you finally get the actual satisfying action scenes that are shown in the trailer. Overall, this film outperformed the expectation that many had, including mine. And I would say this film is actually a good watch. So my final verdict was a 9.9 out of 10. I deducted 0.1 points because Commissioner James Gordon is, even though he served his role well, it doesn't really stand out like other actors' performance of Commissioner Gordon. And also because the lack of the Batman voice. I'm Batman! Yeah, it's a very poor impression, but yeah, he doesn't really have a Batman voice. Even though he does say cringy lines with a slightly deeper alternative voice of his regular speaking voice. Who the hell are you? I'm vengeance. Yeah. And at the very end of the movie, when the Batman was confronted with the cult followers of the Riddler, and the cult follower responded to, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm vengeance." It kind of really bit the Batman back. It's like, oh god, I shouldn't have said that, but consequences always comes back to bite you. And that's all I'm gonna say. And I hope you all enjoy my review, my impression of the film. And I recommend you all to go watch The Batman someday, either in the theaters now or Blu-ray DVD. It doesn't really matter. It's a very good film. And that will be all for today's video recording. For this video recording. I'll see you in the next video recording when I come back from my excursion trip. Shishio Genhaku off.